Can I ask where the, this is so loud, where the camera's gonna be? Oh. Okay, so it's pointed to the whole stage, right?
Yes.
So I don't have to stand at the podium?
No, you can, but like you can move around this whole area.
Okay. Do you want to be on that side and I'll be on this side?
No, next to you.
You're so get away from me.
Well,
wait,
awkward to be here.
wait, give me some.
Luckily, I'm not.
Walking to the screen, I can't see the screen.
Well,
Where should you go?
Shahid.
Should I do it for you?
Oh,
I don't know. Wait, I gave you this scissors for the bear. I saw some crayons actually. Yeah, we have everything. Oh, I gave you the
dang, I didn't get the.
scissors over there.
You were standing here, like sitting here.
Just look up though.
Thank you. No. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
So we are live right now.
Okay.
Okay, flick it.
Is this yours?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'd just like to let you know that our Palestine workshop has started. So if you can take your seat. And we do ask the vendors to make sure the volume is low back there. All right. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Zubia. I am MCC Sisters Chair of the committee. And we do have PYM today, which stands for Palestine Youth Movement. And we also have children's table at the back, coloring sheets, games. We also have like mats for the kids or toddlers, just to keep them busy with their moms. And all right, we'll get started. So our presenters today, we have Sister Sarah and Sister Anissa, and they are presenting Palestine Youth Movement. A little bit about the organization. So they are from DMV, so DC, Maryland, Virginia chapter of the Palestine Youth Movement. They are a local grassroots organizing group who are fighting for the liberation of Palestine. They've launched and led numerous campaigns in the region, including most recently the No Pensions for Genocide campaign, targeting the Virginia retirement system. The Strengthening Steadfastness fundraiser for the Middle East Children's Alliance, Mecca, which is what Busa vendor in the back are raising for. And they have raised over, so with PYM, they have raised over 1.5 million for Gaza and have led numerous mobilizations and actions. So go ahead and give them a round of applause and let's get started, inshallah.
All right, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. My name is Anissa. Again, I'm with the Palestinian Youth Movement. You want to introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Sara. I'm also with the PYM.
So we're going to be talking about community organizing today. So PYM is a grassroots organization. We're an independent grassroots movement for the liberation of Palestine from Zionism and settler colonialism. So we work towards the liberation of the land, of our homeland, and dismantling Zionism and confronting it in every way possible here in the diaspora. The work that we do, so we have several chapters across the US and also internationally. And so the work that we do, we work to bring together primarily the Muslim and Arab community to be able to build power within ourselves, to be able to accomplish what our goals are, to be able to have a liberated Palestine, inshallah. And so that looks very different here in the diaspora, and especially here in the United States, than that work would look like back home, right? So our locales are different and our contexts are different. And so what we do here is we work to organize, especially youth, but in general, like our community. We work to plan political education events. We do a lot of cultural events as well. You've probably known us most for our mass mobilization efforts, especially in DC, but we've done a couple different ones in the DMV area. And so our focus really is to make sure that our community is strengthened and is strong and is united in this work. And then we also prioritize working with other joint struggle organizations and partners. Right? So we know that the liberation of Palestine is not just about Palestine, it's about the oppressed people across the world. And so what happens to Palestine is going to have an impact on so many other communities, and it really is right now, it's setting the stage for what liberation movements can be. And so we work closely with our community to make sure our community is united and strong, but then we also work alongside other communities as well so that we all are united in this fight together against oppression in all of its forms.
Okay, thank you, Anissa. So before we get started on the content of our workshop today, we wanted to do a quick icebreaker for everyone in the room to get to know each other, to start talking a little bit more. My friends Shahid and Adam are going to pass around these icebreaker bingo cards. I want everyone to take one, and what we're going to do is look around at the room, talk to people who maybe we don't know, and then read the prompts on the icebreaker and see if you can find people who fill any of these. And so I know we're also live streaming. If there are people online, you can also see the icebreaker bingo on the screen, and you can use the chat function to talk to each other there, inshallah. So we're gonna give it about maybe 10, 15 minutes. Everyone will have an icebreaker sheet, and then try to talk to people around you and see if they've done these things. Some of the prompts are they own a keffiyeh, which I see a lot of people in the room are wearing their keffiyehs proudly today. Some of them has donated or hosted a fundraiser for Gaza, which I know many of us have, alhamdulillah. We'll break for 10 minutes. Try to find people who fulfill all of these things in the groups that you're in.
Okay, does everybody understand the directions? We definitely want today to be as dynamic as possible, so I know that's probably not what y'all were planning, but I'm about to switch that up for y'all. So this does require you to move around a little bit, talk to people who you might not have met before, maybe get to know something about somebody you know, you thought you knew closely, but you're getting to know some different details about them, so y'all do have to move around. Are y'all ready? And go. Adam, can you play too? Can you play? Oh, it's okay if they don't, because they just can like use the thing, but try to play, especially because the guys I don't know if we have any extra, but the thing is, it's on the kind of just like use some of those and like ask people around for union if they've ever done it.
And I have bingo.
We got our first bingo. Let's do one more minute just so everyone can like finish their conversations, and then we'll come back.
All right, how's bingo going for everyone? I saw that there's some bingo. Some people got their bingo. You want to say something? You can.
No, you have to. Oh, do you want us to take it or?
She told me to come here.
Oh, you got it.
I was sitting here trying to fill out all the squares, and I don't want to bingo.
Awesome.
Well, I think we all won. We all won. But I'm
We all won. May Allah reward us all for our efforts.
in the center of refugees, so I know.
Yeah.
Should I wrap it up? Like explain like the idea of base building and like how this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can pass it.
You guys got 2 bingos? Amazing. We already talked. Mersk. I know what Mersk is. Do you know what Mersk is?
I do know what Mersk is. I think you have me for the Debka. Yeah, you can't use me again.
You have me for the union, so you can't use me. She knows what Mersk is if you ask her. Okay, y'all, let's come back to the group. How was the game for everyone? Was it fun? Yes? Good, I'm glad. So that's actually one of the things that we do as part of our organization and our work is that we want everyone to feel connected to each other. That the only way we're going to build power, to build a strong movement to free Palestine is if we have strong connections in our community and that we all know each other very well and that we're all willing to fight for each other. So that's one of our first steps as a PYM. What do we want to do? We want to build really strong connections in our community. So thank you all for playing. For everyone who got bingo, congratulations. I'm sorry there's no prize, but the prize could be dua. May Allah reward you all for your efforts and for coming today. Ameen. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So before we officially get started with our community organizing workshop, I did want to take this time to kind of talk about like the moment that we're in right now, in the current struggle, what's happening in Gaza right now, because I know it's something that is on our minds all of the time. It's something that weighs on us. It's something that, you know, we are deeply tied to as Muslims, as Arab, as people who have, you know, the moral clarity to know that the ongoing genocide is a crime against humanity, and it's something that we have to be able to come together to put an end to it. We have to be able to put all of our resources together, to put all of our efforts, not only to make dua, not only to donate money so that they can sustain themselves, but to actually make material change for the people in Gaza. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like what's happening in the current moment and how that's kind of having the impact on us and our work. So right now we know that the conditions in Gaza are the worst that they've ever been, right? And every day we say that. Every day is, the worst. And then tomorrow again is the worst, right? And we've been saying this for 2 years. And this is not something that, we don't want to become numb to this. We don't want, as horrific as it is to witness all of the things that are happening, and as detached as we can feel sometimes from like witnessing that on our phones and just kind of endlessly scrolling and feeling that sense of hopelessness, we cannot give in to that sense of hopelessness. We cannot let ourselves become numb and let it be normal that what we're seeing online is just how it is over there, right? Like we have to remove ourselves from that kind of mindset. Otherwise, we're going to be our internal struggle, and our struggle is going to be over before it started, right? So we have to be able to constantly put in our minds that the mindset of like we believe in liberation. Our conviction is so strong that no matter how bad the conditions get, we can always do something to change them. We can always do something. We can look to our neighbors. We can look to the people in the masjid, in these groups that we organize with. MashaAllah, there's so many committees here that help put this event on and that do good work within the masajid. Like, these are groups of people that are consolidating all of that power and are bringing people together, that you can now make different types of change. You can start your own campaigns. You can start your own fundraisers. You can take up different types of work that suits you and that serves the needs of our community and of our people back home. And so really like internalizing the sense of what we call revolutionary optimism, right? It's not like this delusion, right? We're not delusional about what's going on. It's a discipline to remain hopeful, right? It's a discipline, and we have to maintain that discipline. We have to maintain that level of hope and optimism that no matter how bad things get, there is always something that can be done to free our people, to free ourselves, to change our conditions. And which is why, like, bringing it back to what this presentation, what this workshop is going to be about, it's about how do we consolidate all of our power? How do we actually build people power to be strong enough to change those conditions, to be strong enough to take on all of these systems that have told us for decades that they're these superpowers, they're unstoppable, they're unbeatable, right? But we know, and we've seen even in the last 2 years, even in the face of the most horrific genocide that our people have faced, we have seen how fragile these systems of oppression actually are. We've seen a lot of these systems crumble and crack under this pressure that we've been able to put on them from the diaspora in all different ways, right? So no matter what happens, we have to be able to maintain that sense of revolutionary optimism, that we have to be able to hold each other accountable, right? We check in on our neighbors, make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, making sure that we're minding our health, making sure that we're keeping the people of Palestine in our du'as and in our hearts, and also making sure that we're still going out into the streets, that we're still taking action, that we're still doing everything that we need, and that we're not giving up. So it's not only about making sure that you yourself are doing what needs to be done, but it's about taking your community along with you. It's about making sure that everyone has what they need to be able to do the work that is absolutely necessary. Because I do believe that liberation is promised to us. I do believe that our people are going to be liberated. Even when I go on my phone and I see these videos and I see our people screaming and crying and in pain, I feel that deeply, and I don't remove myself from those emotions, but I continue to push myself, and I bring my friends with me, and I bring my people with me, and I go back to community and say, listen, I believe this so deeply, and I'm gonna bring you into this. Like, I want you to feel that as well. And in that strong conviction that we have, we can do anything. We can actually make the change that is possible for our collective liberation, for the liberation of the homeland, of the third holiest site in Islam. This is our absolute duty as people of conscience, as Muslims, as Arab, as the brothers and sisters who, a lot of us have family back home, a lot of us have friends back home, a lot of us want to go to be able to pray in Masjid al-Aqsa, inshallah. And inshallah, we all will, and we will be standing together, praying together in a liberated Palestine. Inshallah. With that being said, I want to go through some of our objectives for today. So again, I want you guys to all walk away with some kind of action item. I want everyone here to walk away with the tools that they need to be able to do local work or even take up efforts in national work or international work, right? There's always something that you can do with the skill set that you have, and there's always skills that you can build up to be able to do more. So we want to be able to kind of give some understanding of what community organizing actually is and maybe demystify some of the misconceptions around it. We want to talk about and learn some strategies, how to power map different resources, how to brainstorm different tools and tactics that we can take up with the resources that we have currently available to us right now. And then we want to also be able to discuss the local organizing context, right? We're in Maryland, we're in Montgomery County. A lot of us knows what that means. We know how organized the Zionists are in Montgomery County, right? In so many different ways. We can be just as organized. We can actually put the effort in. This is not some like ambiguous enemy that we have. We know who they are. We know what they have, and we know what we have, right? So we want to understand what the local organizing context is and how everyone can get involved in helping that, or see what the gaps are and see what needs to be created by some of the people in this room, hopefully.
So this is the objectives that we laid out today. Is there anything else that people want to learn about or talk about for today's session? And inshallah, we can try to cover it. It's okay if not. Yeah. Adam, do you mind passing her the mic?
This is all great. What can we do like on a day-to-day basis as an individual person?
Yeah, that's a great addition. Inshallah, we'll be able to cover that in the presentation too. So what can we take up as individuals? What can we do in our day-to-day lives? Anything else that people want to talk about today or add to or learn about? Okay, inshallah, we'll be able to cover all of these things. I'm gonna sit down a little bit. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do, I don't know if some of you may know, but we actually just, the DMV chapter of PYM just came back from the People's Conference for Palestine. Did anybody hear about it at all? Was it on anyone's radar? That's okay if it wasn't. Oh, it was? You were there, amazing. I'm gonna definitely ask you in a second how that experience was for you. So we just came back from the People's Conference for Palestine. So this was the second annual conference that brings together so many different individuals, organizations and organizers, and just generally people of conscience or people who want to learn more about how to get involved from an international lens. So there were people not only from, this was hosted in Detroit, but it was not just people from Detroit. It was not just people from DC. It was not just people from the US. There were people from across the globe that came, and people even from Palestine that participated in this conference to be able to talk about, not just like theorize about what we can do for Palestine or have an idea of like what it could possibly look like, but actually put together these tools and these resources and learn from each other. There was a lot of conversations about international and national campaigns that people have, and we were able to learn from each other how those campaigns are working, how like what things we could change, what things we could implement. So we were actually like in full like workshops and sessions where we were learning about the conditions in Gaza, and we were understanding how like the real details of like how Zionism actually operates and how it impacts even the smallest aspect of our lives and also of the lives of people in Palestine and people in Gaza. And we were able to kind of like build tools and resources and skills around that. And so that was this last weekend. And so the opening remarks were offered by Imam Omar Suleiman. And so I'm going to play a very short clip of that just to kind of ground us today. And he does talk about, just a sneak peek, at the very beginning he talks about our martyrs, because there were banners of pictures of our martyrs who were unfortunately victims of this genocide, who were posted around the room. And so he mentions right before he reads the Quran to look to the pictures of the martyrs. So as he does that, you can either look on a picture of your phone, or you can just hold someone's image or someone's name, in your head and in your heart as he reads the verses of Quran, inshallah.
Continues to sustain itself. I want to begin with the recitation of the Quran But I'm going to actually ask you all to not look at me, but to look at Anas, to look at Maryam, to look at Khalid, to look at Hind, to look at Razan, to look at Hussam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Allah says, do not say of those who have been killed in His way that they are dead. Rather, they are alive with their Lord being sustained. They are in joy with the blessing that He has provided for them. And they wait anxiously for those who will soon join them. There is no fear upon them, nor shall they ever grieve again. I can't tell you how many times in the last few weeks I would look at the messages, the last messages from Anas rahimahullah ta'ala, and I'd look up to the sky and I would wonder what Anas is doing right now. And I want us to frame our discussion for today with the recognition that when these lights go out and when we depart from these halls, and when these pictures and these banners are brought down, that these beautiful souls that you see here will still remain in chandeliers suspended from the throne of the Most Merciful, with the lights continuing to glimmer, not in need of our validation, nor in need of us memorializing them, because the reality is that we needed them more than they needed us when they were here, and we need them more than they need us now. They don't need us. And I want us to remember three things as we move forward with the rest of this gathering. And I want you to repeat them after me. Protect our people.
Protect our people.
Strengthen our spaces.
Strengthen our faces.
Sustain our stories.
Sustain our story.
Protect our people.
Protect our.
Strengthen our spaces.
Strengthen our faces.
Sustain our stories.
Sustain our stories.
Dear brothers and sisters, the people of Gaza are a people of faith. They're a people of determination. They're a people of steadfastness. They're a people of courage. They're a people that did not need the rest of the world before 2023 to be who they are. And they don't need us now, but we need them. And they have been doing what we have failed to do on our behalf, protecting the memory and the legacy of Palestine for those that remain under occupation and for those that are in the diaspora and for those that ally themselves to our people. It is the people of Gaza that have demonstrated that determination and that have refused to compromise, not just on an inch of the land, but on an inch of the story and the legacy and the history that they carry. I want us to recognize that it can be tempting in the moment to trade substance for symbol. I just came back from Bosnia, 30 years after the Srebrenica genocide. And one of the widows of Bosnia said something that was deeply profound. We would have preferred people to have been present in the moment over their delayed condolences. And in the moment now, where suddenly there is an attempt to put forth a deformed Palestine in the imagination of the same people that have armed our oppressors and that have led to the actual disappearance of our land, we push back and we say that we are not looking for our deformed recognition in your imagination. We're demanding our full substantive liberation. We're not looking for optics. We're demanding outcomes. We're not looking to be seen. We're demanding that our people be safe. We're fighting for something that is meaningful. And yes, one day there will be a school of journalism, Anas al-Sharif School of Journalism. There will be a school of medicine, Razan al-Najjar. All of these people will exist in textbooks, but they will not tell the story of a Palestine that used to exist. They will tell the story of a Palestine that exists, and these institutions will exist in our land under full freedom. We're not going to wait for our oppressors to apologize to us with empty symbols after they've taken everything away from us. But we're going to continue to strive in the moment and recognize that this is not a trend. This is a turning point in our history. That our shuhada, that our martyrs did not die in vain. That the story of saving Gaza will be the story of liberating and freeing Palestine once and for all, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. What can we take away from Umar Suleiman's words, and on his point about being uncompromising in what our demands are? So I think that was a very important theme that he was touching on, because we hear a lot of if you're going to negotiate, you have to compromise something, you have to give something up. But what he was telling us was that we cannot be compromising when it comes to our freedom and when it comes to our dignity and our liberation. So does anybody have any thoughts of what we can kind of take from that? Don't be shy, guys. Or does anybody want to share general reflections on his words, on what he said?
I would say that just going back to compromising, I think when we compromise, we give into the dehumanization of ourselves. And so I think we've been conditioned to do that for so long that it's hard for us to get out of that. And after everything we've seen, we have been compromising for so long. And what have we gotten in return is this. And so I think we do need to change it. We need to not compromise anymore, because that has not gotten us anywhere. So, I mean, that was one of the things I took away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to add either general reflections about his words or on the specific theme of not compromising? No? Okay. I wanted to ask, what are some things that we can maybe take away, or how does this relate to the struggle for liberation that's happening in the US? So applying it to our specific context here in the US, or maybe even here, in the DMV, in Maryland very specifically, what are some things that we can, how does that relate to our work here locally? So it's not just an idea of not compromising, but what's an actual tangible thing? Yeah.
My name is Imam Muhammad. I'm the Imam of Muslim Community Center. And in my khutbah, I always remind the Muslim community, if we want to do and support the people of Gaza or do anything, we have to support ourselves first. Because in Arabic, we say, فَاقِدُ شَيْءٍ لَا يُعْطِيهِ. If you don't have it, you cannot give it. How can you give when you don't have it yourself? And I will I'll share with you a sad story. This past Tuesday, I was sitting there, and here was a group of, I estimate, between 50 to 70 young professionals right here. So I asked one question. I asked them, how many of you live in Montgomery County? Over 70% they raised their hand. They say we are here. So I asked them, what district in Montgomery County we are here right now, MCC? Zero answer. They have no clue. I asked them, do you know the county council in Montgomery County who represent us here in this district? Zero. Those are the second generation. Not like myself, who are immigrants who came to this country, right? I think what had happened in the past was when we came to America, we were only thinking, to have a better life, to have a nice home, car, and that's why we shift. Oh, you have to be a physician, you have to be an engineer, you have to do this, you have to do that, good education. And we forget that the politicians are the one who run our affairs. And let me tell you this, if we organize ourselves here in Montgomery County, no one, neither county council, nor county executive, nor board of education will hold the office without the vote of the Muslim community. And we refuse to listen the leaders. When I cry every day and yell Friday khutbah, when 1,500 people attended the khutbah here at MCC, let's organize ourselves. Zero response. Shame on us. We need to organize ourselves first. Those who organize themselves are the ones who control America today and work hard. It's our fault. It's not somebody else's fault. And let me tell you this, they are opposite. The only two free places around the world today, around the globe, including America, is Gaza and Israel. Israelis, they are free for the shaitanic things because they do whatever they want, the way they want, because they don't afraid anybody. They are free to do what they are doing. And the people of Gaza who sacrificing their lives, giving everything. So if we don't organize ourselves, if we don't contribute and educate our community and come forward from our comfort zone, nothing is going to change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. I think, I'm assuming a lot of you have been to protests for Palestine at some point in your lifetime, right? I'm assuming even if you haven't, you've seen the videos, you've seen the mass crowds, the thousands, the hundreds of thousands, the millions of people around the world that have marched for Palestine, right? It's not that we don't have the numbers and we don't have the power. It's not that we don't have the resources. It's not even about they have more money than we do or anything. It's not about any of that. We are out-organized. That is the only thing. We are out-organized. We have the people. We have the moral clarity. We know that our cause is just. We need to deepen our understanding of what the enemy's tools are being used against us. We have to deepen that understanding. And then we have to organize to change those conditions. We have to organize against those systems that work against us. And I think one local example that I can use, how many of you here are within the MCPS community, whether you're a parent or you were a student or just in general? So you're connected to the school system in some way, right? How many of y'all have heard how often they go after high school students and how it's not even the school themselves, it's the pressure that the school gets from the parents of Zionists who are out organized externally that apply pressure then to the public school system to silence our students, to suppress their organizing efforts, right? Even if they have something as simple as like a bake sale, or if they want to hold up a flag, or if they want to wear a kufiya to school. How many times has the school system been pressured to then send a letter home saying, we're so sorry that those things have offended the other parents and the other people, in our community? How many times have students on the other side of this worn IDF hoodies and t-shirts to school because they have free speech? Right? So there's so many things, even in our, one of you were mentioning, like our daily lives, right? The things that happen in our daily lives that we can pay attention to, it's a very local issue. This is very specific to Montgomery County as compared to a lot of the other counties across the DMV about how organized the Zionists are in this area. And you just saw we have at least 10 people, maybe even more, in this room who are connected to this issue in one way or another. that can actually organize together to change those conditions, to apply pressure from our side to say, you cannot come after our students without hearing from us. You cannot come after our students without us being just as organized as Zionist parents, and we're going to support our students no matter what. And there's been so many, I could pull on like a laundry list of examples of the ways that they've targeted our students. But like you said, it starts here. It starts in the room that you're in with the people that are around you, because you all share a lot of things in common. This can be one of them. Okay, so what our Muslim had said, right? He had focused on three things. He said, protect our people, strengthen our spaces, sustain our stories. And he did an exercise that I'd like us to do here in the room. So if you can repeat it after me. Protect our people. Well, y'all gotta be louder than that. I gotta feel that you believe it. Okay. Protect our people.
Protect our people.
Strengthen our spaces.
Strengthen our spaces.
Sustain our stories.
Sustain our stories.
We can almost use this almost like a guideline or a roadmap to what organizing actually is, right? There's a lot more that goes into it, but just at the foundation of it, right? These are our goals. Our goals are to protect our people back home, and our people here who are facing the repression for fighting for our people back home. We need to strengthen the spaces that we have. This would be one of them, right? This is a space that it's using its physical space, and it's also like a space that we can all come together to be able to have these discussions and sustaining our stories, right? So what are the things that looks like? Again, protecting our people, we have to understand the systems that work against us in order to protect ourselves from it, right? We have to understand what Zionism is. We have to understand how it shapes itself, how it forms, how it's funded, how it creeps into these little things in our daily lives, how it influences a lot of the broader aspects that, the picture that we use here is a banner that says Maersk, cut ties with genocide, right? So the PYM has an international campaign called Mask Off Maersk, and we'll talk about it as we go throughout this presentation. But this is one of those companies that is profiting off of the genocide. It's profiting off of the shipment of weapons components to the Zionist state, right? That are actually used against us. And we are not so far removed that this is just some random invisible entity of people. No, they operate out of ports across the world, including the port in Baltimore. How far is Baltimore from here? Like 45 minutes, an hour maybe, right? We are not so far removed from this that we don't know that, especially in the DMV, how many of us probably live in the same neighborhoods as a lot of different war criminals, right? They're probably a hop, skip, and a jump down the road. We know this. They're not invisible. We know who our enemy is. We know what their resources are. We have to dedicate the time to understanding it and to know what resources they have at their disposal to be able to protect ourselves and our people from it. The second is creating community defense resources. So this can be applied to anything. More specifically, when we talk about the repression that we face, right? A lot of the times people don't take up action because they're scared. Let's just be honest about it. They're scared of the personal consequence. They're scared they might lose their job. Maybe they'll lose a scholarship for school. They're scared that, something is going to happen to them. Maybe they're scared to be arrested for something, right? We have to be able to defend the people who are willing to take on that kind of risk, right? We have to be able to protect each other. It doesn't necessarily have to be you that takes it up, but you have to show up for your community that is, right? And we are stronger in numbers. We are stronger. How many of our kids are aspiring lawyers? How many doctors do we have here that can help out when we have protests, when someone gets hurt? Or things like when people are pepper sprayed in the streets, we have people in our community that have these resources that we can compile together to create these community defense systems, right? So we are protecting ourselves. It does not have to come from these huge systems, these huge government-funded programs. We have the resources within this building, let alone across our entire community. We need to harness those. We need to get them organized, compile them together, and actually work together to strengthen that system to support ourselves. And then taking up the mask campaign. So like I mentioned, the Mask Off Maersk campaign is one example. There are several examples that we'll also mention across just Maryland alone, let alone the DMV area. But these are people, what am I saying? These are systems and campaigns that are taken up by the people, right? Again, we're not this ambiguous organization. I am somebody that lives in this community, And these are like resources that I have that I've used to help take up different things to build up this campaign, to educate people about them. There are people who are able to do the research for those campaigns. There are people who are able to knock on doors to talk to others about this campaign. There are petitions to be signed. There's so many other things, right? And these are mass campaigns that are built by the people and taken up by the people. So when we say, and I think there's a common question about like, what is organizing versus advocacy, right? Advocacy is kind of the act of when you go to your politicians, right? And you tell them about what the issue is, and you tell them what it is needs to change, and you're demanding change from them, right? That's advocacy, and that is absolutely necessary. It does not stop there, though. Organizing is what takes that a step further, and is actually what makes that possible, right? For you to be able to go to your politicians' doors to tell them arming Israel is wrong, arming this genocide is wrong, continuing to use my tax dollars for this thing is wrong. What a people's arms embargo is, we are actually taking the power back for ourselves to say we are not going to allow this to happen, right? All we needed to do was to let everyone know, hey, this company is complicit in this genocide. It profits from this genocide. And across the world, we saw mass mobilizations in Morocco, in a state for a government that has actually normalized. The people went against that and actually organized at the ports. The workers at the ports organized themselves, saying that we are not going to be complicit in this. We are not going to support the ships that are coming in from Maersk that are on its way to arm the Zionist state, right? These are actual tangible steps. I think a lot of times we feel powerless, but again, it's because we're not organized to actually see that we have the power to make these kind of changes with our own hands. I'll quickly go through the next two. So strengthening our spaces, we have to establish and protect our institutions. One of the ways that the Zionist entity organized itself here in the United States and organized against us is by breaking down our institutions. These institutions that are built up, whether it's physical buildings, right? Like our masajid, like different organizations, different libraries and things like that that are actually built to support us and support our work because physical spaces are important. Or it's the organizations that are doing the research, that are compiling resources, that are getting information out there, that are getting us out onto the streets, right? A lot of the times they do target our institutions so that we're not able to have that organizing power. So we have to be able to strengthen these spaces and to make these spaces work for us. MashaAllah, this masjid is hosting a workshop for Palestine and has a flag, the Palestinian flag, right outside of its doors. Not every masjid does. So now you all know what it looks like to be from a masjid that stands for Palestine. Go next door to the next masjid and talk to your brothers and sisters that are there. Bring them into this space so they can learn and bring it into the next space, right? We need to strengthen our spaces and strengthen the resources that we have available to us. We need to create community spaces for us to gather together to have these conversations. And again, we need to hold each other accountable. If the spaces aren't working for us, or if people are being invited into our spaces that really shouldn't be here, voice that and hold those people accountable. If politicians that are actually very Zionist are trying to come into your masjid because they need votes, they do not have to be let into these doors. That can be a very clear line and a very tangible way to say we are not compromising. We are not compromising. We believe like our only line is no to normalization. We are not normalizing. We are not recognizing the state of Israel, and we're not going to allow anyone that comes in here to do that and to try to benefit from the things that we have, right? And the last one is sustaining our stories. So this goes to documentation and archiving historic, political, cultural work, right? It's important for us to be able to learn from the past, learn from past organizers, from past movements, be able to consolidate all of those, do the research. We know as Muslims the importance of study, the importance of learning and accumulating knowledge. We know that that's something that's a core belief in Islam. So we have to be able to translate that into the work that we do, into organizing, creating those tools and sharpening our skills in those methods of storytelling, whether it's journalism, whether it's through media, right? A lot of the things that we see right now are through social media. It's through content that people are making, through the videos that they're recording, through posters that are being designed, through artwork, through any kind of like method of storytelling to be able to tell people the news, to be able to externalize these political things that we're talking about and to relay that to the people that are next to us. All of that is part of sustaining our stories. And to be able to uplift the stories that the people of Gaza are telling us, we need to make sure that everyone is able to hear that.
Jazakallah khair, Anisa. Okay, so for the next part of the presentation, Anisa did a really good job of laying the framework of how we're thinking about things, the current political context that we're operating in, who our enemies are, all of this stuff. So now we're going to try to answer the question, like, what can we do as everyone in this room? What is our role? What are the activities that we can do to support Palestine, to support any social justice movement? So to get started, I'm going to warn you from now, this part is very interactive. It requires a lot of speaking on everyone's parts. So warning you all from now. But we'll start with the first question, inshallah. What is community organizing? Can anybody give an answer? And there's no wrong answers. So whatever you think it is, just share that out. And you can yell it out or Adam will run you the mic. I'm going to have to cold call. I really don't want to do this. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Community organizing is going to the spaces that you already attend and speaking to people about issues that are important to the entire community, and also mobilizing and educating and all of those kinds of great terms when it comes to policy-making spaces and trying to create change.
Jazakallah khair. That's exactly right, right? Like community organizing is bringing together the people that you know wherever you are and bringing them together to create some type of change. Does anybody have something to add to that or anything they want to, any examples that you've seen? Yeah, go ahead.
It can be organic. It can evolve organically. I think it sometimes starts with like one person.
Yeah.
And the one person doing something might attract others. And so I think it may be unintentional, but I think just coming together. And I mean, Maliha and I have, and my parents, like, mashallah, like we've done a lot locally.
Yeah.
And some of it has really just evolved into really like self-sustaining actions that we do.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we do an overpass banner, you know, and it's been over 1.5 years now of every Friday. And it started out with just, you know, a thought and then action, and then it declined because, you know, in the beginning we got, a lot of people were very upset about the situation. It was early on, but then people get burnt out and they get exhausted from doing things, and it's not always pleasant. So we would be out there and we would get harassed, and so then we saw a decline, and at one point there was just one, you know, like one person, and then two, and then it just grew. And so mashallah, like now we can afford to be sick one time, you know, and have it sustain. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of organizing, sometimes it just grows organically.
Yeah.
It just evolves. So yeah.
Absolutely right. Yeah, so each of you all were like kind of a link, and you brought in someone else, and you brought in someone else, and then it started growing and growing. Yes, that's exactly right. Any last thoughts on what community organizing is? From some of our brothers in the room? Anybody want to share? Okay. But that's exactly right. You all had great thoughts on that. Organizing is using the tools that you have, whatever you have, whether that's the spaces that you're in, the banners that you have to put over and overpass, anything that you have access to build power through relationships and leadership in order to make some type of change. So you guys really just touched on it perfectly, mashallah. So if you had to define that even further, what do you guys think grassroots organizing would be? There's an imagery of a tree with some roots, so hopefully that'll be, yeah, okay, the Imam would like to share.
Do you want to know what community organizing means?
Yes.
Practice your faith. What is the salah? What do we do in the masjid?
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of the salah, it's not to just make sujood and ruku'. The purpose of the salah is to connect, to know what is going on in your community. The purpose of Friday khutbah is to inform the community what actions they should take, what is going on in our community, and how can we, make action. What is the purpose of Hajj when 3-4 million people are there? It's yearly convention. But you know what? We lost a long time ago. Look, 57 Muslim country now they meet in, I was watching in Al Jazeera before I came here. 57 Muslim country they meet in Al Jazeera. They don't talk about Gaza. They only focusing on, they don't talk about that we're gonna tell tomorrow the bloodshed must stop tomorrow. What they can do? I was watching in the, Security Council when when they call the hypocrisy, the lie, the manipulation is unbelievable. The cowardice. We pass the time to be afraid or get fear from anybody. If you want to know what community organizing means, know your deen. Go back to the, source. Come to the masjid and let's be truthful. Let's do action. Let's not stop, talking. It's too much. Education, we have to educate. And people, they need to listen. We need to be objective. We need to walk the walk, not just the talk.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you, Imam. But even like the point of like the salah, like Salat al-Jum'ah, it's a day of gathering. So it's the whole point is bringing people together. Thank you. Any other thoughts on grassroots organizing? Awesome. I'll just go back to what the Imam was saying earlier in your first comment, which is that it means that people are all coming together from the very bottom. We're not people who have all sorts of power. We're not politicians. We're not millionaires, but all of us are just regular people who can come together, who are impacted by all of these issues. And maybe individually, although are some stellar individuals who take up stuff on their own, individually it can be challenging, but all together, whether it's in your masjid, whether it's at your school, whether it's your union, when you come together, you have power. So grassroots organizing means from the very bottom, all of our regular people who are here, who come to the masjid, anything like that they're all impacted by something. So they come, they build collective power together, they all work together to push forward a goal. So now that we have a bit of a shared definition around what community organizing is, what are some activities that you think about when somebody says community organizing? Yeah, go ahead.
I have two in mind. The first one would be having protests. And then the second one, I was thinking passing out flyers to spread awareness.
Yeah, those are great examples. So mobilizations, protests, actions, and then sharing information with others. Any other activities that are associated with community organizing that you guys are thinking about?
We do have a lot of organizations, but people need to go and join and do something. And I'm thinking also, we do have politicians that stands with us. Why we're not doing something to show them that we really appreciate what they're doing for us? Like here, the masjid, they come and, they invite politicians that they don't care about what's going on there. So we need to invite politicians that they care about what's going on. And that's it.
No, that's a great example. So legislative work, legislative advocacy, that's definitely an example of community organizing.
I think also some of the organizing that I think is very important is making sure you show up for like the budget hearings. Also where there are community events where we know that these council members and other and such are going to be there to go there and to actually come together. One of the things that comes to mind is Alni Night Out. Just how many of us were there? Like four of us went out, started flyering, but then also ended up finding Jamie Raskin and targeted him. And I started recording, and one of our members who happens to be Jewish American, she actually used her privilege to go and address the genocide with him and to put pressure on the Block the Bombs Act. And so as I think I'm recording or taking pictures, you could see his body movement was very uncomfortable because now he knows the camera's on him. And then I would say probably like 3 days later, he's co-signed. So, those are things that, but also there is the budget hearing.
There's a budget meeting in Germantown.
This Monday
So at 7 o'clock.
And I would just really recommend that people get in touch with like Peace Action Montgomery, which is a great, Susan Karen is all about this stuff. There are things happening every day. So if people want to get involved, there's stuff that needs to happen. So if they can follow Peace Action Montgomery or some of these local Montgomery County organizations, it helps. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so pulling a group of people together, and then also applying like legislative and pressure on our politicians. Those are great examples. And that's awesome that Jamie Raskin co-signed the Block the Bombs Act.
Assalamualaikum. How many people are familiar with MCMC? Montgomery
Oh,
County
a bunch
Muslim.
of hands are going up. Yeah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Montgomery County Muslim Council. And so like locally there are Muslims who are working towards doing like the advocacy work and speaking to politicians and are in need of support. I am helping organize their January Muslim Heritage Month. And why I bring that up is because I think that ties to community organizing and being able to show up in your community, whether that's like schools, neighborhoods, masajid, and just being able to show people just like the depth and the variety that like exists in the Muslim community, and being able to show like different aspects. Like we're multifaceted, we come from different backgrounds, and also like storytelling that was mentioned earlier, being able to show Muslims like positively in the news, like being able to speak with our neighbors who might not know kind of like a Muslim, you know, like, and just being able to share our side of the story. And that ties into, I believe, community organizing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great example. So being able to tell our own stories, share who we are, and then put on events and things that are good for our community and, you know, strengthen our relationships with one another. Those are wonderful examples. Okay. Any last thoughts on this before we go to the next slide? Yes, one.
I think like even as a simple example, I would say community picnics. I think that like sometimes we think that like community organizing has to be like the next step, you know. And I think something my brother said to me recently was like, we're not all activists, you know. And a part of me was like, I don't like how you said that.
Yeah.
But I think he was very true in what he was saying, that like a lot of us want to do something, you know, but I don't really know where to start, what that looks like. So I think like being able to meet people in the spaces that they're at is like one of the bigger things. So I would say like, yeah, like, or even maybe something like that, like bake sales, you know, like that's just a small example. Like these are spaces that we're already in, not spaces that necessarily have to be like created. So how we can like formulate those conversations in those spaces. It is quite hard, but I think like it's a lot easier than being like, oh, I have to do 7 more steps rather than I have to take 2 steps.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Like these events that we put on for our community, picnics, fundraisers, all of those are really great ways to engage. Awesome. So here we have a list of all of the different things that can be incorporated as part of community organizing. This is only a partial list. I know you guys mentioned a lot of them: the legislative advocacy pieces, the fundraising, bake sales, picnics, events to strengthen our community relationships, telling our own stories. All of these things are up here. Does anybody want to read through some of these? Yes, go ahead.
Toolbox of community organizing: base building, mobilizing, campaign creation, power mapping, leadership development, arts and culture, leadership development again.
It's important, that's why it's up there twice.
Coalition building, popular or political education study groups, fundraising, mutual aid, legislative campaigns.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this is just a small list of things that we can do in our own community that are activities that a community organizer would take up. So when we have our programs in the masjid to develop us as Muslim leaders, that is part of community organizing. When we are doing power mapping, which is just assessing what are the different organizations in the area, what are the tools and resources they provide, how can I get connected with them, that is a form of community organizing. And these are things, like as you said, that happen organically sometimes. Sometimes you're just talking to someone, you make a connection, next thing you know you're working on this event, next thing you know you're pushing a legislative agenda. Those are all parts of community organizing. And the last thing I'll shout out is the arts and culture piece, right? Like preserving our Muslim heritage, our culture, making sure that our stories are documented. Those are all parts of community organizing because they are all part of bringing us together and using whatever tool that we have, whatever skill that we have to push forward and to build up our community power. I think a lot of times we also think about like actions and mobilizations and protests as one of the main forms of community organizing. And so we just wanted to touch a little bit about how that's not only the form of community organizing. Again, there's so many ways to do that.
Okay, so we have a quote up here. Can y'all see it in the back? Is it easy to read, sort of? Okay, we have a quote up here by Kwame Ture, and this is a couple excerpts from a talk that he gave, and he was specifically discussing like organization and organizing versus mobilization. So I actually wanted to ask if anybody wanted to read it in the crowd, but I have a stipulation. You have to read it like you believe it. You have to read it almost like you're giving a speech, like you're trying to tell everybody in this room about organizing and why it's so important that we organize versus only mobilize. So you gotta read it with some like oomph. That's my one requirement. But would anybody like to try? Yes, let's go.
I will have to get closer. I'm not a seeing person.
You got this.
Okay. The enemy will use mobilization to demobilize us. Mobilization is very easy. We are people who are instinctively ready to respond to acts of injustice. People will come and rally. They will come to rally at issues. This is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionaries aren't concerned with issues. We are concerned with the system. Mobilization leads to reform action, not revolutionary action. One of the characteristics of mobilization is that it is temporary. We must transform mobilization into organization. If we are not careful, we allow mobilization to become events. The struggle is never an event. It's a process, a continual, eternal process. Power comes only from the organized masses.
Yes, can we give a round of applause? Thank you so much. Okay, so let's kind of like break that down a little bit. So I think one of the first things that was mentioned when we said organizing was mobilizing, was rallies, was protests. And that's probably the first thing that y'all thought about, right? And I mentioned earlier, that's probably what we're most known for is like, oh yeah, PYM's always putting on protests, right? Which is fair, we do. Because there's a lot of things going on that need to be addressed in the moment, that need to be met with a certain like attitude, a certain tone, that need to be met with righteous anger and frustration and demands that can only really be like, communicated in the form of a rally, right? But a rally is not the movement, and a rally is not organization. And so what he talks about is actually how people actually can sometimes feel more demoralized by this constant rallying and protesting, right? And it probably has happened to a lot of us in here. How many times have you gone to a protest, you're like, not another one, like, it doesn't feel like it does anything. I feel like, change is not gonna come from this rally, so why do I need to go, right? Like these are very common things that we hear in the community, and we probably have felt at one time or another ourselves, right? Like we know this, we're not gonna pretend like we don't know. But the reason is we have to reframe our thinking about what rallies and protests and mobilization actually does. Like what's its actual purpose? Because once you kind of reframe it, then you can understand its actual, like how it fits into the overall grand scheme of organizing efforts, right? So we don't mobilize because we think the next rally is the one that's gonna free Palestine. That's not right. That's not a realistic goal for what a rally is, right? MashaAllah, we're in DC, we're in the DMV area. So we've had protests. We've had the largest protest in the United States for Palestine. It was 600,000 people in November of 2023, a month after everything had kind of broken up, right? I'm hoping a lot of us were there. I'm hoping, yeah, okay, good. We mobilized people from across the country, and people came from out of the country, outside of the country. People flew in from Canada, from Mexico, from all over the place to be at this, and people are still marching every day across the globe. Marching in and of itself is not what's going to free our people. So we have to kind of break away from that, but that does not mean that it's useless. That does not mean that it doesn't have significance or that it doesn't have power, because it does. Number one, it's an actual visual representation of who is in our movement and what our movement is, right? Our movement is the masses, it is the people. That's the whole point. Again, they don't have the numbers. Remember they tried to do something similar, like maybe a month later or something, and it was barely like maybe 50,000, and they paid people to show up, right? They paid people to show up to this protest, and they still couldn't get the numbers. And so again, that goes to talk about like what our actual drive is, and we know that this is a just cause. And when our goals and our movement is just, the people will come. So it's not about that we don't have the numbers. It's just about what happens after we gather the people, right? So when you hear the endless speeches that are happening in the program, because they can go on for hours sometimes, right? We have to understand that those speeches are giving us resources and giving us tools, and they're also kind of like summarizing what our politics are so that people are able to understand where we are within the movement, what the conditions are on the ground, right? They talk about what's actually happening in Gaza right now. They talk about what's happening in other countries and how it relates back to what's happening in Palestine, right? We've heard about what happens in the Philippines. When they talk about the US war machine, it's not just impacting Palestine, it impacts the Philippines, it impacts Puerto Rico, it impacts Sudan, it impacts all these different places. So those speeches are what is actually telling us, okay, these are things that you need to understand in order to be able to continue in this fight. So you take away the things that are happening in those speeches and the things that are being said, you take those home with you, you research them, you get a better understanding of them, you tell your neighbor about it so that they can do the same. And again, it's like that base building, and it's like the model of organizing in grassroots and how you communicate things that are going on, right? It's also a platform for all types of organizers to be able to come together in one place. So us as PYM, we have very specific work that we do. We have specific campaigns that we have with different things that we target. We have work that we do, we have events that go on, we have study groups, we have all these things, right? We don't do all of the work that there is to do with organizing. You have other organizations that then show up that do the policy work, that go to the Hill, that do the advocacy work, that talk to our politicians on a daily basis, right? That hold them accountable, that make sure they understand our demands. That's another form of work. You have people that then go and confront war criminals at their homes, that do those wake-up calls, right? That take up direct action. That's another form of work. You do people who solely focus on political education. They do the study, they do the research, they consolidate all of this knowledge that we're building up so that everyone else has something to pull from, has those resources. It's another form of work. You have the journalists that show up at our protests, that interview people, that take pictures of what's happening, that use their platform to be able to show everyone that people are still showing up for Palestine, and people who are in Palestine see this. They see that. They tell us all the time. I'm not being metaphorical. They literally say that we see you guys on the streets. When the student encampment was happening at GW, we were getting photos sent to us of us on the news, like helping the students, right? Like this is not a metaphor. This is not theoretical. We are more connected than we actually realize. And so again, like these protests are not just because, right? This is not just because we want to be angry and we're idealists and we want to go yell and we just want to shout something and then go home and forget about everything else. This protest is just a way for us to consolidate all of that power, to bring in people who are doing the work, to bring in people who are new to the work, to bring in people who might still need some convincing to take up some work, right? We all gather in the same place, and you'll see like we're talking to each other throughout the whole thing. We platform different issues, we learn about different things. So that's what a protest is for. It is not the protest in itself that's going to free or change our conditions. It's at those protests that we learn from each other and we consolidate a lot of our resources to then take back to our organizing spaces or take back to our masajids and actually put those to work and then come back to the protest the next time even stronger. So again, like really trying to understand, changing that framing of how you see the purpose of mobilization can help immensely in like feeling empowered to continue to show up, to continue even when you're tired, even when you just came from work and it's been a long day, even when it's hot outside or maybe it's raining or snowing on us, right? Like it changes your frame of mind because you're not putting so much pressure like if I don't show up to this protest, the whole movement is gonna crumble, right? That's not what it is. We're not just relying on one individual. We are a collective, we are a community. We have to do this together. And so that's what a protest is for. And so what he's talking about is like sometimes the enemy can use the constant mobilization against us. Can be like, well, they're gonna tire themselves out, so we'll just wait for them to do that, or we'll just keep giving them something to protest, and eventually they'll get tired and stop showing up. The protest is not the organization, it's not what's doing the work. It's a consolidation of all of that work, but it is not what's driving the movement forward. And so the last line again is power only comes from the organized masses. We have to be organized to be able to create that power that gets showcased at protests.
Thanks, Anissa. So for now, I know I mentioned that it's going to be very interactive and we're going to be talking. We have a couple of questions that we'll be asking you all. Our goal today is that everybody is able to leave this workshop, leave this session with a tangible item of what you can do next to participate in any social justice movement for Palestine, for immigration, for Sudan, anything that you want to participate in. So our goal is going to be to map out what are the next steps that we can take, inshallah. So we have one quote that's going to inform our breakout discussion groups. Can anybody volunteer to read this? Thank you.